What bike light can run for days and never need charging? A Dynamo bike light. And that's what we are covering in today's video. What are Dynamo bike lights and why did I want to install them on my everyday bike, a non-electric compact cargo bike, the Tern Short Haul? Dynamo lights are kind of like magic. They never need charged because they are powered by energy created by your bike when it's rolling. Dynamo lights have a special front hub in the middle of your wheel that generates power as you ride. That power pushes up a wire to your front light that is hard mounted typically to your handlebars. From your headlight, a wire runs back to your rear light and everything is powered as you ride. Let's talk about how this magic impacts my daily riding and ultimately why I installed them on my everyday short haul. I have been loving my short haul as that everyday carry of bikes because it's simple, but something that has been adding friction to simply grabbing my bike and going have been the lights. I've been using very nice rechargeable bike lights. But as a daily rider that also uses my lights as daytime running lights for safety, I needed to remember to recharge them fairly often. And this caused me to fall out of love with using these for true everyday bike riding because that charging and needing to remove them when I lock up my bike somewhere added friction to the habit of going by bike instead of car. There were many instances that my lights weren't charged, so I grabbed my car keys and went by car. It's not the goal here. Now, in contrast, the lights are something I love on my city electric cargo bike. When I turn on the e-bike system, the hard-mounted lights turn on and are powered by the huge e-bike battery. But the short haul doesn't have an e-bike battery to run any lights off of it. Back to my original question for you. What bike light can run and run never needing charged? Dynamo bike lights. And that's what I needed to remove the friction from trying to bike every day. If you're finding this interesting, do me a favor, reach down and hit that like button. YouTube loves some sort of communication or engagement in the middle of you watching this video. Now, I'm not a Dynamo expert. I know enough to educate people, I know enough to install them, but it's not like I have a Dynamo testing lab in my shop. But thankfully, I do know some city biking Dynamo experts. Luke and his team at Perennial Cycles in Minneapolis, Minnesota. When I first started riding the short haul, I reached out to Luke to see what options he had for a reasonably priced Dynamo light setup for the short haul. He is also a Tern dealer and quickly became enthusiastic about this idea. His shop helped me create a Dynamo light kit for the short haul that's ready to order on their shop's website. The Dynamo kit I ended up with is about $475 before any labor if you need help installing it. This includes everything you need to install your Dynamo light setup. You're gonna get a new Dynamo front wheel, a front light and handlebar mount, rear light, and the wiring that's labeled and pre-cut to fit a short haul. Now, the front hub is what this all revolves around. We went with the Shimano Alfine Dynamo hub. It's a pretty good option with less rolling resistance than the cheaper Shimano option. Your front new wheel is also the most expensive part of a Dynamo setup. The front light we opted for is from Bush and Mueller, which is a 50 lux Dynamo light, which is roughly equivalent to 500 lumens for normal bike lights. This should be plenty bright for the city biking I do, which is typically around 12 miles per hour with streetlights around me. If I was going faster or had no streetlights, I would get a brighter light, something in the 80 to 120 lux range. Now, the rear light is a Top Light Mini Plus. This is a rear rack specific light that is pretty small, but still has a built-in reflector, so I can remove the reflector from my rack and replace it with this one. The team at Perennial has great instructions on how to install it. If you feel comfortable adjusting disc brake calipers, you can totally handle this. If that sounds daunting, leave it to your local bike mechanic. All right, now that I have the lights installed, let's go for a bike ride so we can talk about the pros and cons of Dynamo lights. My absolutely favorite thing about Dynamo lights is I don't have to worry about grabbing my lights or charging them up. I can just grab my bike, check the air pressure, and roll. The lights just power themselves from my front wheel as I pedal. It's like magic. And when I'm locking on my bike, I don't have to take my lights off. Stopped off for some coffee and lunch. There are two cons that most people think about when they're introduced with the idea of Dynamo lights. The first is the cost. Something that we just put on the short haul is going to cost you between $500 to $600. But I look at it as a long-term investment, not just for this bike, but for all my future bikes. These lights and the hub are going to last longer than I probably want them to. If for some reason get rid of this bike and move on to a different bike that has a different wheel size, I just need to get a new wheel laced up or built up around that hub that I've invested in. And then the lights themselves will last really for as long as I mentioned as I ever want them to. The second con that a lot of people think about when they think about Dynamo lights is that they have rolling resistance. The way they generate power is by adding a little bit of resistance. I found from the Alfine that we put on the short haul and going up, you'll probably have more rolling resistance from forgetting to pump up your tires than the hub itself. All right, let's go get back on the bike. Let me know if you have any questions. I have another Dynamo project in the works. I have a 24-inch wheel for my daughter's Voom kids bike. I'm going to be turning it into a city biking machine as she has started to bike herself to school. So let me know if you have any Dynamo questions and I'll try to cover it in that video if I missed it in this one. If you found this helpful or interesting or entertaining or you made it this far, make sure you hit like and subscribe. It really matters for YouTube and I really appreciate it. All right, until the next video, thank you so much for watching. Stay well, stay good, and remember, bike more and worry less.